Hello BookTube. Today I'm continuing with my reprise of the alphabet tags created by Jim of Jim's Books, Reading, and Stuff. In this episode, the L tag. L is for Louis L'Amour, the prolific best-selling Western writer famous for his Western fiction. What is your favorite of Louis L'Amour's novels? I don't have one. I've only ever tried to read one novel by Louis L'Amour, Flint, which is about a retired gunslinger with incurable cancer returning to his old stomping grounds for one last adventure before he kicks the bucket. And in this adventure, he aids a young woman who has inherited an extensive ranch from losing her property to unscrupulous land speculators or criminal ranchers or something like that. The book was quite terrible. I bailed on it very quickly. The writing, the tone just did not work for me at all. So I attempted to read Flint for this past June on the Range, which is a creation of Michael K. Vaughan. And for June on the Range, the idea is to read Westerns over the course of the month. Westerns are novels set in the American West, usually during the mid to late 19th century, and includes quite a lot of adventure. This past June on the Range's theme was to read something by Zane Grey and Louis L'Amour, and I attempted both and both failed miserably, so I suspect this is probably my last attempt at June on the Range. L is for love. What is your favorite literary love story? I'm going to take this in a different direction. In a few days, Nonfiction November will begin, so I'm going to go with 3 historical love stories, starting with Maria Theresa and Francis I, who was Holy Roman Emperor. The second is Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, and the third, Elizabeth II and Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. L is for like. Have you liked this video? I believe I have liked this video. L is for language. Have you any books in a language you can't read? Yes and no. I have a number of books that are works in translation, in which the original language is on one page and the English translation is on the other. The Lockhart Librarian translation from Princeton University Press does this. They will have the original and then the translation. And I have several of these books. Also, there is a collection of poetry called the Go-Go Boy Sonnets by, let me see if it, I can't read the author's name, but several of the sonnets are to Go-Go Boys whose native language is, or first language is not English. And so he translates or had translated the sonnets to these boys into their native language. And a sub-question to this one is, what languages can you read? Sadly, I can only read English. L is for lingo. Are there any words in other languages that have no equivalent in English? Probably, but I can give you an example. L is for literary fiction. What is your understanding of the term literary fiction? So, literary fiction is a form of fiction that wants to be a genre, but isn't clearly defined. Like going to earlier with for this tag, there's Westerns. You can easily identify a Western, as much as there are Westerns still being written. Love, romance. You can easily identify a romance. Science fiction and fantasy. Very obviously what they are. Mystery or detective fiction or whatever you want to call it. You can easily define it. But there's this mostly realistic form of fiction that, or several forms of fiction that you really, what are they? There's no real easily definable genre. Um, and so, in a way, you have to go with who the intended audience is, I guess, for like literary fiction being aimed at readers who are more interested in critical conversation or more interested in the attempt to have a higher quality of writing or more experimental or something like that. I do have a writing book, which for some reason, which is geared towards horror, but does have a really good definition of literary fiction, which is a mashup between modernist fiction and postmodernist fiction, with some realism tossed in. But it is really difficult. And to a certain extent, sometimes I wonder if literary fiction isn't a little pretentious in that it wants to ultimately be part of the canon, but almost certainly it's going to be forgotten relatively quickly, for the most part. L is for Lolita. Have you read it? No. I have no intention of ever reading Lolita. I read, I think, Pellfire by Nabokov eons ago and didn't care for it, so I have no intention of reading anything else by him. L is for London. What is your favorite book set in London? So this prompt gave me some trouble. I don't remember what my answer was back in 2021 when this tag originally came out. But I'm going to go with The Swimming Pool Library by Ellen Hollinghurst, depending upon which reading attempt I make of it. Every other time I attempt to read The Swimming Pool Library, I'm either successful or I bail. Yeah. I'm weird, I think. Anyway, so The Swimming Pool Library is about a wealthy young gay man who really doesn't have much going on except for having sex. And one day he's cruising and he encounters an elderly gay nobleman who is himself cruising. And the nobleman has a heart attack. And our main character saves his life. He performs CPR. And this forms a weird parasitic bond between the two, in which the nobleman enlists the protagonist into writing his biography, which ultimately has the purpose of teaching our main character a lot of gay history before his birth, but also a not quite so dark family secret that sort of destroys, to a degree, the friendship that has been built up between these two. And also, there is another betrayal that I never quite understood, and it's always bugged me. But I'm going to go with this one. I'm not entirely happy with this answer, but It's the only thing I can think of at the moment. L is for librarian. Do you have a favorite librarian? No. I haven't actually been to a library since, well, over a year before this tag had been first created. I haven't been to my local library since early 2020. And finally, L is for last. What is the last book you read? So yesterday I read volume 2 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean. It's the 6th part of the extended JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series, and it's about a young woman named Jolene Cujo, who is the daughter of Jotaro Kujo, who is the main protagonist of a number of earlier iterations of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. In this case, Jolene has been imprisoned for a crime that she did not commit. And in order to help her, her father gives her a trinket that kind of allows for her to develop an ability called a stand. So in this universe, some humans have superpowers called stands. And Jolene has to figure out how to use her new powers, how to deal with other prisoners gaining powers, and a conspiracy that is targeting her father as well as herself. And so I read it and rather enjoyed it, the second volume. And I'll talk a bit more about it on Friday with Weekly Reads. So anyway, BookTube, that was the L tag. If you like to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged, and I will see you with another video soon. So until then, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.